Hey guys, Jesse here, and welcome back to my Legend of Vox Machina reaction series. Today we're moving on to Season 1, Episode 7. So, quick warning before we start, I have seen all of Critical Role, so if this is your first time watching Vox Machina's story, this might not be the reaction for you, because I have a tendency to talk about spoilers. So, on the last episode, we met some of the major players in Whitestone, including Keeper Yennon and Archibald Desney. The latter, Vox Machina had to rescue from prison, not before he lost an ear, but Vox Machina's plan to rescue Archibald from prison was mostly successful, a few hiccups along the way, and Percy got to scratch off the first name on his list. It was a great episode, we got some of the classic Percy quotes, and altogether I think it's a wonderful, succinct adaptation of the Briarwood story so far. Obviously there's been a couple deviations and switching around of things, but most of the changes have been mostly inconsequential, and I've been really, really enjoying the story so far, even though I technically already know it. But with that, I'm excited to keep going, so let's go ahead and jump into this episode.
Whitestone.
Oh.
Mined from our very mountains, its plain appearance belies an exceptional
Oh,
trait
you asshole.
when
Why do you look like a human Mr. Potato Head?
Cassandra, are you volunteering to demonstrate?
Percy Cass.
Certainly. Professor?
Pay attention. This is going to be very important to the plot later.
On its own, the light remains measured. However, when even a tiny bit of residuum touches it,
How did no one notice this man is evil?
if I may, I still have not received word on my refinery proposal.
Hey, the dad.
Anders, we've been over this.
The dad's wearing the
Yes,
proper
but
Whitestone
with
crest.
funding, we could triple our residuum production.
Your ambitions cloud your duties.
Oh, that's also Taliesin.
More is not always.
Also, is the mom voiced by Lady Briarwood's actress, maybe?
You'll never appreciate the potential here. How could you? When everything is given and nothing is earned.
Evil.
Fanciful whelps. Pray you never wake to find reality knocking at your door.
Wow. He already wants to murder these children. Also, they look so cute and innocent. That's not gonna last for very long, but babies. But also it's interesting that they're showing Anders' motivations for betraying the Dorollos, because we never really got that in the original campaign. But this is clearly showing that the reason he betrayed them was because he wanted to continue experimenting on residuum, and they weren't giving him the time or resources to do so. It's fun to be able to build up on these villains that we never really got to in the original campaign. God, it's still just in the backdrop. I mean, you can't take him down. It's too much attention. That's horrifying. That sucks. I hate that.
If you turn that thing on any of us again, I will not hesitate. I will kill you.
God, he's so aggro at
Percy.
this point.
Holding that weapon, it's like you're a different person. What is it? When we came here, darling, you promised no more lies.
The creation of the Pepper Box begins 5 years ago.
I love all of this.
With my family murdered, I had no way of striking back. I feared the Dorolo name was a death sentence. So I disappeared. My days spent struggling for survival. My nights filled with fear.
I shouldn't smile so much about this angsty backstory.
Cruel nightmares. Hatred inside me grew. Vengeance burning hotter than black powder, nearly consuming me. Until a new vision came.
Hell of a muse.
Of sight.
Yikes. No wonder he's single.
Not the time, Scanlan.
Look, if anything, his anger and vengeance make him sexier. Vex definitely thinks so.
Sundry?
I really hope the Sentry talks to...
What happened to you?
Hey, Kiki. How you doing, girl?
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. That thing's badass. But what are those scribbles for?
The monsters I hunt. Professor Anders, Anna Ripley, the Briarwoods, and until about an hour ago, Valkyrian Stonefell.
God, why is he so cool?
Hold up, that's 5 names. Who's the 6th barrel for?
Yeah, interesting thing about that. It's never just 5 names. It just keeps going and going and going and going.
I'm so sorry. The sentry was... I thought maybe that sunlight could...
Inside? Why not just announce where our hideout is while you're at it?
All right, you made your point. It was an accident. Hate.
Oh, she's pissed. He chose Keyleth's side over Vex's. This is her greatest fear.
The noble de Rolo residences. Once symbols of the connection between your family and their people. Now, the Briarwoods hand them out as prizes to the cronies. Stonefell got one. Their enforcer, Duke Vedmire, lives in the one we passed earlier.
Scanbo?
My scouts got word he's holding the Kestrel here.
Cassandra. Then what are we waiting for?
Hate to burst your bubble, but we can't just stomp through the front door. There's 1,000,000 guards, and we'll die 1,000 deaths.
Is that a loss?
Oh, what if I lure the guards away from the house?
Good one.
Come on, real ideas only.
Seriously, how do you come up with these jokes so fast?
He's gonna be so great.
Now is not the time to be cute.
Give me a
I'm not
triceratops.
I mean, I am, extremely, but not like you.
You're
Megan.
kinda cute.
Listen, I'm serious.
Mildly.
I can create a distraction while you save Percy's sister. That bruiser, Venkman.
Vedmire.
Yes, I'll burn down his motherfucking house. A fire that big would be seen across Whitestone.
The answer is no. It's far too dangerous, and you're far too... you.
Grog.
Oh, this is setting up so much stuff about Scanlan's arc. So much.
Vex, you're always saying I'm annoying. Well, let me be annoying.
I love that. Look, let the bard do what bards do. They're loud and shiny and distracting.
Hopping walls like a cat. No! Totally meant to do that.
Oh, is this entire section going to be musical? I would love that.
Gonna prove Vex wrong. Unless fucking rain comes along.
And this is when it starts to go really bad.
Oh shit.
You're about the size of one of his shits.
Fucking love that.
Roll to see if you hit one,
Hi.
That's really meta. That's so many layers of meta. Oh, hey!
Oh hell yes.
It's a blink spell. Now blink your way out of this situation. Well, this is going worse.
How would this ever help? Miss me, Doogie. Please be something good.
Fire!
So, what misguided ambitions delivered this miniature parcel to my abode?
Funny story.
You will suffer worse.
Oh, this is gonna go real bad. Well, there's the fire you needed.
Wow, that was convenient.
She was a nightmare. Always got me in trouble. Terminally irritating, pompous, utterly incapable of silence.
Siblings.
She sounds like Scanlan.
They're not entirely different, no.
She's more like you
I hope
now.
She's okay.
She's
Scanlan, too.
she's something. Scanlan is weirdly in a better position than Cass is at the moment.
Western, Fort Daxio, and Mon? What are these psychos playing at?
Those are some names.
And you put out that fire!
Scroll. I've read this stupid thing 100 times. But I've never sung it. Huh. Okay, fuck it. Never schneven!
A motherfucking Triceratops! This is gonna be so weird for new viewers. It's just like, why is he a dinosaur? It's great though. I mean, this is definitely a distraction.
Dwarves are such bullshit.
Dwarves are such bullshit.
Now for my grand exit.
Oh my god. It's just a roof confrontation. It's exactly this.
You're just going in?
The longer we wait, the more we risk being discovered. On my shot, we move.
Let's not be rash, Percy.
Holy shit. He did it.
Yeah, you did.
And it looks like he went all out.
Oh, yeah.
Never underestimate a bard.
Try not to get yourself killed.
I was dead yesterday, remember? Can only improve from here.
Yeah? Kinda.
Hold on. There could be a trap.
Not everything's a trap, you twit.
This is a trap. There's gonna be like 18 armed guards right there.
It's a trap.
Oh, yep. Because there's that vampire lord in the original campaign. They're just shoving that on Anders as well. And there's definitely a bunch of guards there. You go, you little gnome. Being annoying is his specialty.
Oh man. They are fucked now.
Part of me thought the arrows were just gonna pop out. Oh, apparently they did.
Anders.
No black eyes yet?
Did you honestly think you could best me by yourself? You're weak, you're small. And in this world, that means you lose.
Wait. It's true. I'm all talk. Everyone thinks I'm a joke. But the brothels have taught me one thing. Size doesn't matter. It's how you use it.
Cocklight. Wait, his big moment's cocklighting? Yeah. Yeah, that checks out.
Piece of shite.
And you've been a lovely audience. And don't forget to tip your server. Good show, Scanlan.
Less of a cool getaway, but you know what? He got a couple more one-liners out of that.
Anders! Open the door, coward!
Percy.
Always early to class, Percival.
If you harm her, I will end you. Let her go and we can discuss a future where you're still breathing.
That's not gonna happen either
You seem
way.
to think this is a negotiation.
Don't!
Oh, you just fucked up big time. Oh, fuck you, show. So that was season 1, episode 7 of Legend of Vox Machina. Scanbo. Of course it's called that. What else are you gonna call it? I'm so glad that reference stuck around. I was never worried that we weren't going to get Scanlan's siege on the Duke's mansion. It's a pretty big moment in Scanlan's original character arc. It's the first time you really see him as a badass. Early on in the campaign, there was always running jokes that he never killed anything ever. And so the fact that Scanlan went into this mansion in the original campaign without any fire spells or any ways to create fire to set a house on fire and then somehow ended up taking this whole mansion by siege, turning into a Triceratops, punching the Duke off a roof and then getting away was, first, shows how badass and versatile bards could actually be, but also how Scanlan was a very valuable member of Vox Machina. And there's a lot of similar beats in Scanlan's rampage on the Duke's mansion in this. I think the only major difference is, one, the reasoning why Scanlan's actually going to the Duke's mansion to set on fire in the first place. Obviously in this it's to make a distraction so they can rescue Cass. And in this we're kind of skipping over that other vampire lord who really doesn't matter, and he's the only really major character in Whitestone that wasn't on the list, and so I don't really care. The only thing I think that really was majorly changed about the tone of Scanbo was his exit was a little more humbling in this than it was originally. Like, no matter how cool Scanlan can be, and how a lot of the members of Vox Machina can be, occasionally the universe has to humble them. Also, we got cock lightning, which is very Scanlan. That his big, inspirational hero moment happens to be shooting lightning out of his penis. But something I'm really enjoying about this show is the way that they set up later moments in the narrative and in character arcs. Because obviously, since Critical Role was originally not planned out, they couldn't set seeds for a lot of the things that would just happen naturally over the course of 115 so episodes of Critical Role. A lot of that, and a lot of Scanlan's arc happens very later in the campaign, but it also made sense very narratively. But setting up those insecurities about him being a lesser member of the team because he is not super combat forward. He's not necessarily the strongest of the group. He's not the smartest. He isn't like Grog or Vex or anyone else in this group. And because of that, he's mostly underestimated. Which is fine for the enemies to look down upon him and underestimate him. But the problem starts really showing whenever Vox Machina doesn't necessarily see his strength. And setting up those little tidbits for whenever Scanlan finally breaks is great. Because Scanlan as a character really stems from the tabletop RPG aspect of Critical Role. Scanlan was primarily a support character, and not in the way like a cleric or a healer is a support character. Because with a cleric you can still really define how helpful they are and really see their impact based on how well they heal and keep people from dying. But Scanlan's contributions were always much harder to see, especially in the beginning of the campaign, where he was more about teleporting and buffing. And so a lot of his accomplishments and how helpful he was for the party were easier to ignore than, let's say, how much damage Grog and Vax did, or how much healing Pike did. And it was only once Scanlan left that they realized how important he is to the makeup of the group. And so seeding those insecurities right now and in this episode so early on in the series really is going to be helpful once the character arc is complete. And then you look back at this and say, this was the beginning. It starts out small and almost insignificant, but it's going to make a really big difference in his character arc later on. On the other half of the episode, we had the rescue of Cassandra. So we're also introducing Cass way earlier in the season than she would normally if we were following the plot beat for beat from the campaign, because they don't meet Cass until they end up in Whitestone Castle, and there's a lot of things that end up happening before they meet Cass, including finding out that Ripley's making guns, mostly stuff that involves Ripley. Ripley is introduced and developed a little more before we even meet Cass. As of this point, we haven't even seen Ripley, which I have an idea of why they're doing that, but before I dive into my ideas on Ripley, the reason why I understand why they want to introduce Cass earlier, because they have a smaller amount of time. You need to establish her as Percy's sister and her as a likable character before the eventual entering the castle and the turn that ends up happening. So the more time you put in between her showing up and her interactions with the Briarwoods in the castle, the more that twist and the more that betrayal feels like something. Because if you kept the pacing the same, and based on how much they're condensing everything, I think Cassandra would show up at the beginning of an episode and then have her heel turn by the end of the episode, which would not have the same impact. It felt fine in Critical Role because it took them like 9 hours to go from point A to point B, where it'll take 20 minutes here. And that's clear what they're doing, because they're really leaning heavy on establishing Cass as a character at the beginning of this episode, where she's a little mischievous, maybe slightly jealous of her older brother, but she still clearly has a decent relationship with Percy and her parents, at the very least, from what little interaction we see with them. And it's really just leaning on her innocence, probably to show how different she's become once we actually get to see her talk, because she didn't really do much besides gurgle in this episode, which, understandable. It's hard to talk when your throat is slit. Gotta love that cliffhanger, though. But back to a point I was trying to make earlier about Ripley and why I think that maybe they're trying to push her until later. Because Ripley, while being a major villain over the course of many episodes, is supposed to be the lesser threat in the Briarwood arc. Percy, for the most part, ignores her because, as he says later, you are at the bottom of my list. He doesn't see her as a major threat or of much consequence compared to, let's say, Lord and Lady Briarwood. So you don't actually need to develop her as a threat in this, because she only becomes majorly a problem because Percy chooses to ignore her. And at this point, he doesn't know that she's making guns. He doesn't know about her aspirations. She is just a henchman to the Briarwoods, who are the big threat. And it's more like the show's overlooking her the same reason Percy overlooks her. Because she's not of consequence to the story or Percy's revenge, at least not as much as everyone else. And that comes back to bite him in the ass later. At least that's kind of my thought process. And we met Anders properly, and he was always a smarmy asshole, and he always kinda was evil. Maybe he wasn't like that when they first hired him to tutor their kids, but at a certain point you have to think, maybe this isn't the right tutor for my children. He seems mildly evil, or at the very least seems to not like children, and seems to enjoy fucking with them. We are rich. Maybe we hire a different one. We kinda have the pick of the litter. It seems, though, that Anders' motivations in this are much more easily laid out. He is an ambitious, smart man, and he's here to do research on residuum. And since the Dorollos weren't helping him get there, he decided to, in his mind, pick the winning team. That, again, is going to come back to bite him in the ass. I don't know why he slit Cassandra's throat. You only have yourself to blame for what's about to happen at the beginning of next episode. Last point, and that's about the fact that they're setting up the whole residuum thing. Obviously, they can't just have Matt monologue in the middle of a session telling them what the properties of residuum are, and so we have Professor Anders monologue at the beginning of an episode about what residuum does. And it is a conduit for magic. It's fun to see them build up, like, the plot of the Briarwood arc, because obviously I know why the Briarwoods are here, but for a new viewer, all you know is there's something about a ziggurat and contacting gods, and now you have this stone that amplifies magic. And so all the pieces are slowly coming together, and obviously it's not just the Briarwood arc that is being built upon in this arc, it is the story of Critical Role. It is Vox Machina's story as a whole, because a lot of the things that you think are only in this arc suddenly slowly start to pop up near the end of the campaign. So that was my reaction to Season 1, Episode 7 of The Legend of Vox Machina, Scanbo. If you like this reaction, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and keeps me motivated to keep making more of these. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.